Hey everybody, welcome to the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have the time and feel compelled to do so, hit the like button, leave a comment, or better yet, share with at least one person. Whether that's verbally through your everyday life or hit by simply hitting that share button. That would really help me out tremendously. That would tremendously help me out. You know what I'm talking about. To reach out to more and more people. And of course, I'd be very grateful for that. With that being said, this is episode number 53. If this is your first time tuning in, I do have 52 previous episodes that you can go back and view on YouTube. You can check out my Facebook page or my Instagram page, or you can listen to me on whatever podcast streaming app that you feel that you like. So yeah, you will notice though that I had posted about an episode every week. Previously, I had to kind of switch to more of a monthly podcast because work got a little bit more busy and my daughter's going to Montessori school, so I had to adjust my schedule. I'm now working 5 days a week, so I have a little bit less free time and I needed to make some cuts, and so I wasn't willing to do that with family time, so I decided that I was going to move to a monthly episode. And let me tell you, a lot can happen in a day, of course. A lot, even more so, can happen in a week. But an entire month, it gives you a lot of ideas on what to talk about. And I do have probably the biggest news I received right away after my last episode was that I got an email from one of my pastors, Pastor Joe, saying that he accepted a call to a different church in a different state. Now, of course, I immediately was really bummed out by this news because he does a phenomenal job at speaking and just rocking as a human being. He really inspires other people just the way he lives to want to do better. Now, this isn't the first time that I have experienced a pastor relocating to a different church. I don't know how frequent it is with many other churches, but to me it's not necessarily a strange thing. I don't believe any preacher, at least I know in the Methodist and say Lutheran, that they don't stay forever. But anyways, the first time I experienced it was with my buddy's dad. He was the one that got me into church. I believe I stayed the night at their house when I was really young on a Saturday. His mom asked my mom if they could take me to church the next morning. Next thing you know, I went to that church all the way through my senior year of high school. And so when I received that news in 8th grade that he was going to be transferring to a different church on the other side of the state, I was absolutely devastated. I mean, kids tend to have a little bit more selfish tendencies, and I couldn't figure out how this benefited anybody by them moving. And of course, back then, I wasn't just losing a pastor, I was losing like a second family. They always welcomed me with wide open arms, even when I was trying to run away, which would be just around the block because they didn't live that far away from me. They welcomed me in. Of course, they would tell my mom that I was over there and safe and sound, but I was devastated because I was also losing a best friend. So I thought, the only way at that point in time to contact somebody was via landline because cell phones were just entering the society, or I guess at my age, it wasn't very common for people to have cell phones. But as we got older, and of course, cell phones came in, then social media, we got to communicate a lot more. And full circle, that pastor, my buddy's dad, ended up marrying my wife and I actually lived with them because they were transferred to another church in the town I live in currently. And so, full circle, everything happened for a reason, and I still consider them a very big staple in my life as a family anyways. So going back to Pastor Joe leaving, I still do have some selfish tendencies, which I was really bummed out that he was leaving. The selfish side of me didn't think this was fair. We joined this church I can't remember if it was just before or right after the pandemic started. All these last few years have just blurred together so bad. So we didn't get a lot of services in person to go to in order to build this friendship and mentorship. Not to mention, he's just, I think, about a year or so older than me, and our kids are about a year apart from each other. And so I had this vision in my mind that we were going to become best friends. We were going to go hang out. Our families were going to do things together like barbecues and just be like picture perfect. That's how life was going to be. But that was the selfish side of me. Now, the selfless side of me, the side that I feel like that I am working on constantly, because that's the side I want to shine, that's the side I believe Jesus wants us all to live, is the selfless side, could not have been more happy for them. Because they're moving to a state in which grandparents are located, and so therefore they get to spend more time being grandparents and doing things as a family. And that alone is enough to be overjoyed for them. Not to mention, they are just great people in general, and they're going to do amazing things wherever they go. And that church community that is receiving Pastor Joe, they are very blessed to have an amazing person go and preach the good word to him, to them. Sorry. So, like I said, bummed out, yes, and I know that they have mixed feelings as well, because a little bit bittersweet. They've been here for seven-ish years, I think he said, and they're leaving a home that they have established, and now they're going to a new place where there's maybe a little bit scary but yet exciting opportunities that await them. So, best of luck to them. He is forever going to be what I consider a milestone person. Now, a milestone person is kind of a term I kind of came up with. I don't know if anybody else uses this term, but milestone meaning an important point in a process or development. In this case, development meaning my life or my journey, my faith journey. And person, of course, the object, which is the person, a milestone person. Now, this is something that I kind of believe. Now, don't tag this to, this is what Lutherans believe, this is what Methodists believe, this is what whatever denomination. I don't believe so. Like, this is me. This is just me believing this, because it's had such an impact on me. And I'm not 100% sure if this is found in the scriptures anywhere. I really didn't take the time to look for it. But this is what I truly believe. God places certain people in your life that have a tremendous impact on your life. And I've had quite a few of these people, and I like to call them milestone people. But you don't get to decide the duration you are actively involved in each other's lives. For instance, I could say that my parents would be milestone people. They are people that I spend most of my life with, and I learn from them. Heck, I even have their DNA in me. But when I think of true milestone people, I think of a little bit short term. People that I was only around for maybe a summer, maybe a couple of years, maybe just an instant. You never know. That's what I kind of like to lean towards. For instance, my college friends, some of them I would consider milestone people. I learned a lot from them, and really developed into who I am today because of the impact they had on me. Also, some high school friends and kids from my youth that I grew up with. But there could be people even smaller points in your life. Maybe you just met them for a summer. Or, for example, maybe you were having the worst day or the worst week or perhaps the worst year of your life, and you decided you're just going to go take a drive to clear your mind. You're just sitting there praying for answers. And you're just saying, please give me a sign, just something to show that I matter, or someone can just acknowledge me, And then if you're from the Midwest, a farmer might be driving by and just give you a little wave. Not a middle finger wave, but just a little wave. And that was the small enough sign to show that you are a somebody instead of a nobody. Or if you're not from the Midwest and people don't just wave friendly like that, maybe you are on the subway. I have been on a subway and nobody talks to each other. But maybe you're on the subway and someone can see that you're in distress or having a tough time and they just simply look over at you and say, "Are you okay?" Or maybe they hold the door open for you. Just small little gestures, but for whatever reason, you just grasp that and you remember that. You might not even remember their face. Maybe you do remember their face. Or maybe you just remember the gesture they did to you and how it made you feel and how it was just the little push you needed to just keep going, to keep driving on. I would consider that something to be like a milestone person. Most times in my situation, they are people that I have gotten to know over just a little bit of time. You know, mine's usually around anywhere from a couple months to a couple years that I feel like I remember most vividly. And I would consider this Pastor Joe one of them milestone people. So that's why this episode's kind of dedicated towards him, because him and his wife are starting their new journey. So I leave a question with you. Who are some milestone people in your life? And what kind of small little gestures of kindness can you be to someone else that might make you a milestone person to them? Something to think about. I do have a verse for you guys today, and it's coming full circle around here. I think I started my podcast off with this on episode 1. It comes from Jeremiah 29, starting with verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. In those days when you pray, I will listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me." Love that verse. It just always gives me hope and keeps me going, you know? So that's kind of what I had for you guys today. A little bit short and sweet. I hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. And I will be posting another video on January 1st, 2022. Till next time, I'm the West Dakota Dad. Thank you so much for listening.